Heavenly Father, creator of all things, we thank you this morning for your many blessings. We thank you for the right to assemble here, the right to speak freely. And I thank you that our rights are God-given. They come from you, not from our fellow men or from governments. Bless our meal this day and our time together. With respect to people of all faith, I offer this prayer in the name of Jesus. And with our Jewish brothers and sisters, we say, Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Amen. Amen.
Now we will put our hands over our hearts and say,
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Well, welcome everybody.
Good morning, Phil. How are you?
If everybody wants to take a seat, that is great. I'd like to welcome and thank you for coming and making this great event. We're going to start our 8th Candidates Forum, which is being televised. I would like to also tell you that we are a grassroots organization as the Tomato Valley Republican Women's Group. It's a national federation of women's group that was founded over 75 years ago. Our club, which is the Tomato Valley, has just celebrated our 22nd anniversary. We've registered over thousands of voters, donated thousands of items to our troops, sponsored yearly student scholarships, and helped operate the Ventura County Republican Party's headquarters during our elections. And our club has the Ventura County Woman of the Year tomorrow. So with this, we're going to have our breakfast getting started. We'd like for you guys to compliment yourselves among the tables. If you haven't met anybody here in the room and would like to meet somebody in the room, take the time during the breakfast when you're done eating kind of thing and meet them. This is important to get to know our fellow Republicans. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you all for having me. It's great to be here. Diane and I have been talking about this event for a few months. I think I heard, who you just told me that you reached out to me the day we announced the campaign to invite me. The hour. Within the hour of the announcement of the campaign, we reached out. And it's really great to be here. I really enjoy these events. You know, you all are the ones who do the hard work. You're the ones who are carrying the flag every year, year in, year out. Every primary election, every general election, trying to advance the cause. So it's really great for me to meet with you and to share with you a little bit about myself. So my name is Neil Kashkari. I'm running for governor of California. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. Now don't hold this against me. I was born in Ohio, okay? My parents, anybody else that have Ohioans here? Okay, there are a lot of people in California from Ohio that I found. My parents came to America about 50 years ago from India. My family wasn't wealthy. We were middle class. My first job was mowing lawns. My second job was bagging groceries. And then my third job was, I was an assistant to an auto mechanic at the Chevy dealership. But my parents did one great thing for me. They did a lot for me, but they did one really great thing, is they saw to it that I got a good education. And because I got a good education, all of the doors of opportunity of our great country have been open to me. You know, so I became an engineer. And I moved to Los Angeles after college, and I worked at TRW in Redondo Beach. Now you all know TRW, now it's Northrop Grumman, right along the 405. And I loved it. I loved California. I came here for aerospace, and I fell in love with California. And as much as I loved engineering, I decided to go back to school. So I took out huge student loans to go back to business school to learn about business. And then I came back to California, to the Bay Area, in San Francisco, and I helped startup companies raise money so they could expand and they could hire and they could grow. And I was combining my engineering and my business. And it was wonderful. I was learning a lot. I had a good job. I was enjoying California. And then I did something crazy. In 2006, President Bush picked the CEO of my firm, a man named Henry Paulson, to be Treasury Secretary. And I picked up the phone and I called him up and I said, I want to come with you to Treasury. I don't care if you're going to lick envelopes. I just want to serve my country. I want to learn how government works. I want to give something back. Now, people thought I was crazy. Why would I give up a great career in the private sector to go work in Washington? And I said, no, you're crazy. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get to serve and to learn and to contribute something. And so I went with him. And I worked in Washington for 3 years with President Bush, and it was an extraordinary experience. And then you remember what happened. In 2007, we had that terrible financial crisis. And I was there at the Treasury Department, one of the key responders, trying to stabilize the U.S. economy, working for President Bush. And it was so bad, believe it or not, President Obama even asked me to stay to continue the fight. He didn't talk to me. President Obama did not want me to stay, but he needed me to stay. And I stayed and I worked for the new president for about 4 months until we stabilized that terrible economic crisis and I could step down and return to California. And then I returned to the private sector. So my time in Washington was brutal. But you know what? We did something extraordinary. We got Republicans and Democrats to work together. They almost never do it. But we got them to work together and put their country before their political careers. And I'm really proud of that. So I returned to the private sector, and then something crazy happened again. 3 years later, November 2012, you remember that, Mitt Romney lost the election for president. Right? I strongly supported Mitt for president. I think he would have made an excellent president. I still think he'd make an excellent president today. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe 2016, anything's possible. I think he'd be a terrific president. Well, November 2012, Mitt Romney lost the election, and the Democrats took a supermajority in the state Senate and in the state Assembly. And our party has been cast as the party of no. The party that doesn't care about regular people. The party that doesn't care about women. The party that doesn't like minorities. The party that's only for big business, right? That's what they said. And I heard that, and I said, wait a second, that's not right. That's not why I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican my whole life. Because I believe economic growth is the most powerful force we have to lift people up. If we give people a chance to work hard, they're going to take that chance. And they're going to build a better life for themselves. And that's why I'm a Republican. That's what I believe the party stands for. And so I said, someone has to fight to turn this around. So I started looking. I started looking around the state saying, who's going to lead the fight to go take the fight to Jerry Brown? And I didn't see anyone. And so that was November 2012. December 2012, I got on the plane and I flew to Dallas, Texas to go visit my old boss, George W. Bush. I wanted President Bush to tell me, Neil, you're crazy. Don't even think about running for governor. What do you stay in the private sector and enjoy your good life? But he said, you're not crazy. He said that when he decided to run, remember this, he ran for governor of Texas against a really popular, really smart, funny lady named Ann Richards. Remember Ann Richards? She was the incumbent governor of Texas. She came up with all those clever one-liners. It used to burn me out because her one-liners were funny. And they were all making fun of our guys, okay? But she was a smart, witty lady and people liked her. And everyone said she's unbeatable. But you know what George W. Bush said? He said, people of Texas are suffering. I'm going to focus on helping them get a better life. I think she can be beat. And you know what he did? He beat her. And then he told me about his dad, George Herbert Walker Bush, the first president that I was old enough to vote for. I still adore the guy. Remember, after the Gulf War, he had almost a 90% approval rating. And there was this little-known governor from this little-known state of Arkansas named Bill Clinton. Remember what Bill Clinton said? He said, it's the economy, stupid. That wasn't a very respectful thing to say. But Bill Clinton focused like a laser beam on the struggles of middle-class families in America in 1992. And you know the history. He went and he beat them. Well, that was 1992. Think about where the middle class in California is today. The middle class has been destroyed over the past 30 years. You know, in 1980, California had the 11th most educated population in America. 11 out of 50 states, that's pretty good. Today we're 48. You couldn't engineer that decline if you tried. In 1980, we were right in the middle, around 25th for jobs. Today we're 47th for jobs. And in 1980, we were right in the middle, around 25th for poverty. Today we're #1 in America for poverty. Wow. So the legacy of the past 30 or 40 years has literally been the destruction of the middle class in California. So November, I thought about this, 2012. December, I talked to President Bush. January, I quit my job. And I said, if I'm going to do this, I need to go spend a whole year exploring, meeting families, studying the policy issues, figuring out how we turn California around. And I did. I traveled up and down the state. I met with families of all walks of life, all around the state. Every ethnic background. Caucasian families, Latino families, African American families, Asian families. You know what I found? Everybody wants the same thing. They want their kids to get a good education, and they want a good job, and a fair chance to work hard. This is what I believe our party should stand for. You know, our voter registration is down. We're down to 28% Republicans. A lot of the independents or declining states are former Republicans that are upset about where they see the party has gone. I want to bring them back. I want them to raise their hand and say, I am proud to be a Republican, because the Republican Party stands for hard work. And my message to the people of California is, if you want to work hard, we're the party for you. So I spent a year preparing, and then finally I made the decision, and in January of this year, 3 months ago, I announced my campaign for governor. And my platform is simple: jobs and education. That's it. Because if we do these two things, if we unleash the private sector and grow the economy, and I'll talk about how we do that, so we create a lot of good jobs. The private sector creates a lot of good jobs. We put people back to work. And then they can take care of themselves, and they can pay taxes into the state, and we'll all be better off. And if we fix the schools so that kids are getting a good education, that they have the skills they need to get that job. You know, we do these two things, most of the other problems in our state take care of themselves. We'll end up having less crime. We'll have less drug abuse. We'll have stronger families. Think about our budget. Every single person that we move from welfare to work, we get a 2-for-1 benefit in our budget, because instead of needing help from the government, they're paying taxes into the government. I want California to be the state with the most taxpayers in America, because people have good jobs and can work hard, take care of themselves, and pay into the system, and then we're all better off for it. So that's my platform. Jobs and education, that's it. On the jobs front, we can tap into oil and gas and create hundreds of thousands of good jobs. The first thing I'm going to do as governor, by the way, is cancel the crazy train, the high-speed rail. I've said we're going to cancel the train, we're going to save most of the money, but some of the money, we're going to actually invest in water and build more water storage so we capture the water. This drought that we're facing, right, this is a lack of preparation. Droughts happen, folks. Right, this is not our first drought, and I guarantee you this is not our last drought. We need to get going right now to build more water storage so we're prepared for the next drought. We're going to rein in regulation so that small businesses and farmers can thrive. And we're going to bring manufacturing back to California so that we're actually producing goods here, not just designing them here, producing them here. On education, I rolled out my education plan a few days ago. We're going to actually get the money that we're spending. We spend more than $40 billion on K-12. We're actually going to get it in the hands of teachers and parents at our schools and let them decide how it's spent. So you know what they can do with it? If they want, they can bring vocational training back. I think that's a good idea. Because college helped me tremendously, but look, not every kid is destined for college. And those that don't go to college, they matter too. And they need skills to compete. So to me, it's giving parents and teachers the power, the control. That's how we're going to turn around our school. We're not going to fix this by making small changes. We have to make bold reforms on our economy, on our government, in our schools. And then we need to unite each other around the principle of hard work. I know I'm out of time, so I'm going to just say, I'm not quite yet. I'm not done yet. Okay. We just won. Our party just won a resounding victory in San Diego with the new mayor, Kevin Faulkner. Right? Great mayor. Do you know how he did it and how we did it? He ran a campaign where he reached out to every group imaginable. And he said, you are welcome in the Republican Party. We want you with us. If you want to work hard, we want you with us. In San Diego, Democrats have around a 15% registration advantage over Republicans. He didn't just win. He crushed his labor-funded Democratic opponent, around this positive, inclusive message. If it can work in San Diego, it can work statewide. And that's exactly what I want to do. I want to bring everybody back. I want the Republican Party, I want our party to be the biggest tent you've ever seen in your life. And the unifying principles are hard work and personal responsibility. Make sure the state has a role to play. Let's make sure kids get that good education. Let's make sure small businesses can thrive and can grow and compete. And then let's get out of the way. And let's let the private sector lead. That's my vision. With your help, we can do it. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it. This event's been going strong and moving forward, and it's just been a pleasure to be reaching out to voters and talking to organizations like yourselves. First of all, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Mario Alexandra, and I'm a candidate for State Assembly in the 44th District. I came here with my beautiful fiance. I met Crystal when I was in 5th grade. I asked her out 3 or 4 times. She kept saying no, so I waited a couple of years to ask her out at the end of 8th grade. She kept saying no, and then the very last time I asked her out, she said yes on accident. But she said it was the best mistake she's ever made, because we're going to be getting married in July. You know, one of the reasons why I really like talking to the Republican Women's Federated is because my mother's a Republican, and she really inspired me to work hard and start my own business and be the ambitious young man that I am today. She has a great story, and that is she was a single mother when she was 21 years old. And she had no money. She was very poor. She had my oldest brother, and she would go to Bonds, and on $5 a week, she'd buy rice, beans, and tortillas. And she would get those, bring them home, and my brother would come over and say, "Mom, I'm hungry." And she would say, "Well, we have lots to eat. We have rice and beans and tortillas on the plate. We have beans and rice taco. We have a bean bowl with cheese on top." And she said that she looked up and thought, "Wow, so much food, so many options." I heard that story, and it really inspired me, because my mom, she took her head down, she worked really hard, and she progressed in life. And now she owns her own business. I grew up on a 5-acre ranch in a custom-built home, and she really inspired me and my brothers and my family to work hard, and I really appreciate that from her and everything she's taught me. And like I said, so she inspired me to work hard, and I went and I received my insurance license when I was 19 years old, and I started selling insurance policies right away. While I was going to college at San Diego State, I was also going to farmers and selling these little migrant insurance policies for $50 a month. It was able to give their workers some basic health insurance needs. And so while I did that, I worked my way through college, and I got out of college and had the best opportunity, and I highly recommend it to everybody. I went traveling. I went traveling by myself for about 4 to 6 months, traveled all around the world, and I saw the difference between a lot of poverty, the downs in life, and the ups in life. I saw the riches. And one of the biggest differences between that and the United States and other countries is I saw an education system in China and in India and Brazil that was flourishing. And when I came back home, it inspired me to work hard and get involved with our educational system. So I got a job at a private insurance company, and I started getting very involved in the community. I got involved with Rotary, and I got involved with Aspire, and I got involved with Shelter Box USA and the $100 solution to the local farmer. And one of the best stories I have of that is Aspire. Aspire is a program that teaches kids to start businesses from scratch. And it really showed us that our youth is very smart. And I hope we give them the educational resources to continue to grow. Because this program Aspires, we teach them to start businesses from scratch. We literally have these kids come up, and two or three of them come up to us, they start this business. And we teach them everything from insurance fees, the lawyer fees, and we have them come up with an idea, we have to write a business plan. And at the end of that program, they come to an organization like yourself, 200 people, you have a 9th grader come up, and some of them have the best ideas. And I want to tell you about one, just to kind of tell you how smart our kids are. One of the kids, in order to fight childhood obesity, actually came up with an application on their iPhone that a parent can download for their kid, and it shuts down all electronic devices. Well, those electronic devices are attached to a little GPS in your shoe. And so you have to walk or exercise a certain amount of time before your electronic devices will then turn on. And so that turns on only for a certain amount of time, and then it shuts off. And then you have to walk a certain amount more time before it turns back on again. And you know, there's obviously your safety devices and whatnot. And one other story about that I just thought was genius. Another tip is all the little electrical devices, two little metal pieces that rub together and create a little electric wave. Well, you then get your cell phone, plug in a little device to it, so as you're walking, it sends a little Bluetooth electrical charge to that device and it charges your phone while you're walking. So, if you look at this, you can see kind of how smart are our kids and what has California done to pick up those resources. What are we doing to help businesses thrive? And I think right now, as a small business owner myself, California is suppressing businesses. It's very hard to start a business. It's very hard to grow that business. You have to pay so much, not only in taxes, but you have a lot of regulation to fight through. And these are the issues that California needs to change. I hope to go to Sacramento. I hope to help people, like I've been helping these kids start their businesses, or helping people on through Rotary, or helping people at the Farm Bureau, and teaching people about ag. Because that's what it's all about to me. That's what inspires me to run. It's all about helping people. It's about helping you get a better education. It's about helping you get a job. It's about helping you get to a better life. And that's really what inspired me. And I hope to lead a generation of Republicans that are coming after me. I hope to lead you guys now, and I hope you guys can help me do that. We just opened up our campaign office in Camarillo. We have our website up. I hope you guys visit it. I just got done with my first debate with Jackie. It was a great debate. I think it's online. You guys please watch it. And get behind me because I need your support. Let's get to Sacramento. Let's keep this seat Republican. And thank you very much.
I think I've at least got one person in the audience who's won over here. I beat Mom and Aquaman to get his support, so one vote at the counter. We'll talk politics this morning here, but I wanted to just take a break for a second. And if any fans of football, the NFL, we got one or two or a couple. Anybody know ever heard of Bill Belichick? And everybody knows how Bill Belichick won his first Super Bowl, don't you? He cheated. He videotaped the Rams doing their walkthroughs on the day before the game and stole all these pages right out of their books and knew what was going to happen. So let's think about that. How do we keep losing? How do we keep losing? Because all of us know it. Our arguments are the logical ones. Our arguments are the ones that add up. Our arguments are the ones that make sense. But we lose statewide because we're talking to the wrong part of the brain. There's the emotive part of the brain and there's the logical part of the brain. And there's a neuroscientist at UCSD who's done some studies on people with injuries to the amygdala. That's a big word that I can get out of my non-scientific mouth. But if you look at someone, if these people that have this particular injury look at someone they love, look at my son, and didn't feel the emotive love for that person, then immediately your logical side of your brain loses. It loses every single solitary time. That you would come to the conclusion that aliens had stolen them and imposed an imposter, and until you feel that emotion, you don't know. I wanted to go into politics since I was 16 years old. It was my first bit of public service. I was a page to the U.S. House of Representatives. I've known since I was 16 how partisan things are. Every single run I made as a Republican was to Trent Lott's office, where I picked up the notes. He was the whip, just like Frank Underwood is the whip was the whip on House of Cards. And every single run went out to everybody's office telling them what to do. Because all the power is centralized within the party. That's how the House is. That's how partisan things are. You know, we got a democratic system where there's people, no, there's two cloakrooms in the House. If there's a third party, where are they going to meet? In the men's room? We have a two-party system. It's a partisan system, and we have to fight within that system. But we have to fight smarter than we've been fighting. I wanted to go into politics since I was 16, and I wanted to go to law school as kind of a segue into that. But my parents were pretty conservative in a business sense and money sense, and wanted me to get a practical degree. I finished college with a degree in accounting in 3 years. I was 20 years old. I finished first in my class. I went on and became a CPA, and I got the 3rd highest score in the country on the CPA exam. I audited companies. I was a 22-year-old kid, and people would ask me, and I'll wear my security card, says, "What are you doing here?" I'm actually auditing your books, so you might want to get back in line if you want to get a clean review. I audited clients like Saab Cars USA and Saab Financial Services. I knew what securitization was while most people were still doing keg stands on campus. I still did keg stands, though, don't worry. But I went to law school at the University of North Carolina. I wanted to stay with the state school program so I wouldn't indenture myself and be locked in case I found law to be as pleasurable as accounting, which isn't much. And John Edwards was there. John Edwards was there when I was doing my training, doing closing arguments. And I started, and it was a technical sort of argument, and I was laying it out like an accountant would. And he interrupted me, and no, this is just wrong. Fundamentally wrong. Everything you're doing is wrong. Sure, this is real logical, and I'm sort of getting it, and I'm a lawyer, and I can barely follow you. What do you think the 12 ordinary North Carolinians sitting there, they're going to follow along with you? You've got to pull on the heartstrings first. You've got to make them want to come with you, and then they'll come with you on everything. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. So that's what they do. They put up a Sally Struthers-looking shivering dog, and we're here with numbers and studies looking like Ross Perot. The emotive part of the brain wins. People don't have that long of a time. They don't have that much logic in their head. And if they did, the logic is going to lose to the emotive. So the message has got to be simpler, and it's got to be one that tugs on the heartstrings. And I've got probably the worst office out there for running for that. I mean, I should be more like a referee and an umpire standing behind the plate watching the balls and the strikes. It's not up to me to call the pitches. That's why you vote for state assembly. That's why you vote for governor. My job is to enforce and defend the laws of the state. No one has done worse than the past 2 attorneys general who have selectively decided, hey, we don't like this law. We don't like this proposition. We're just simply not going to defend it. We're not even going to refuse to defend it. We're going to challenge the ability of anybody, Attorney John Eastman, to file a credible brief defending it. There was no law on the books that gave them the right to do that. They just did it. And guess what? It's a one-party state. They're unaccountable, so they don't give a hootin' tootin' nothing about the fact that we're not happy about it. It doesn't matter. That office eviscerates your rights to demand direct democracy. There's going to be a ballot initiative that's titled Doctor Drug Testing. I represent doctors. I've never really known them to be heavy into drugs. I've got other clients that I might worry about a little bit more than the doctors. This is nonsense. It's a trial attorney initiative to raise medical malpractice damages from $250,000 for non-economic damages up to $1.2 million. It's a bald-faced lie. If anybody in the private sector was doing it, they'd be thrown out on their ear. So you tell me that this person is politicizing the office, manipulating it to the political ends, then don't look to me to run for it off this office and turn around and do the opposite thing in conservative causes. My job is to get Californians back to work, and it's simple. I've worked on Wall Street as a securities attorney. I've worked in Silicon Valley as a securities attorney, and I'm a corporate attorney today representing small businesses in San Diego. I've also got a degree in environmental law, special 1-year master's of law, and I've run the state agency that is in charge of keeping the ocean clean. I've got experience at the city level, the county level, the state level, and the federal level, but most of my experience is in the private sector. In Silicon Valley, how does it happen? We've got all these entrepreneurs, and they're different. Why? Because they don't feel the pain, and they're too consumed with making the next $1 trillion of monopoly money to pay any attention. I moved down to San Diego, and I thought, okay, this will be great here. No, it's tough. My clients feel the pain. They're small business owners, they're small contractors, developers, restaurant owners, they're people that are barely making payroll. And they don't have time to report a paper cut to OSHA or face a $5,000 fine. I ran the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and I know how difficult it is to get projects through. I saved the first Carlsbad, the first desalination plant in this state, and every single once-through cooling facility that does the power plant that pulls water from the ocean to cool ought to desalinate water. it's already causing the impacts to the little fish and the little larvae. It's the only difference is the environmentalists don't want us to have that water because they don't want development. It's transparent, okay? Second thing, I've got a great record as a lawyer. You've got a corporate dispute and a family business breakup, I'm gonna win. You're gonna win when you got me on your side. But I tell you, I've got a terrible record, a mixed record, toss a coin record, when it comes to defending the land use decisions by the city of San Diego, because the California Environmental Quality Act is what makes it impossible. It's kind of close to the trees, and I'm going to get to my John Everett stuff where he'd say, no, no, no. But you could fix CEQA. You people have got to be able to roll that off. You can't lift a shovel of dirt. When we had all this stimulus money, there wasn't one such thing as a shovel-ready project. Who thinks we need to reform CEQA? Conservatives like Jerry Brown, conservatives like Gavin Newsom. Who doesn't want to reform CEQA? Kamala Harris. And why? Because she's running for office. What office is she running for? Governor. She's running for governor in the next 4 years against Gavin Newsom. She's looking right past this. And I'm told day in and day out by people I take money from, and people I solicit money from, and groups I talk to, editorial boards, look at how hard this is going to be. Well, I was a boxer as a kid, and I boxed until I was 30 years old. I boxed on the same day I closed a venture capital deal for a bunch of Bechtel execs, including Ronald Reagan's Secretary of State George Shultz. I know how to fight. You don't throw one punch. You throw 6, 7, or 8 punches all together, and 2 or 3 of them are going to land. Let me tell you something. I'm a credible challenger for Kamala Harris, and I'm going to run a hard race. And there's been a lot of boxers who've gotten into the ring with a Don King fight. And if you know what a Don King fight is, the deck is stacked against you. You better go in there, and you better fight hard, because you better try and get a knockout, because the cards are stacked against you. We'll tell you what, my son back there, his name is Harrison, which traces all the way back to our family pride of being related to the Harrisons, the presidents, William Henry Harrison and Benjamin. But his nickname is Buster. Buster. And you know why it's Buster? Because one of the 2 biggest upset victories in sports in our lifetimes, number 1, the Miracle on Ice, the Russians. Nobody thought we could win that, and we did. 1980 in Lake Placid. And number 2, Mike Tyson going for his 12th title defense, his 38-0, 37 knockouts. And who did he lose to? An unknown named Buster Douglas, who beat the living crap out of him. And after it was all over with, everybody said, wow, Mike Tyson has these weaknesses. Well, you never know until you get in the ring and you fight with somebody. So I'm gonna fight. You're gonna see me in the ring. I'm gonna fight hard. And come November, win, lose, or draw, Kamala Harris is gonna wish she'd have fought somebody other than me. Thank you very much.
My name is Rob McCoy, and I'm a candidate for the 44th Assembly seat for the California Assembly, and it's a privilege to be with all of you today. I wanted to share with you before I begin, I want to introduce you to part of my family. 2 of my 5 children are here, but more importantly, my wife is here. Shall we stand up? This is my wife, Rachel. My daughter, Kelly. And this is kind of cool. I have not only my daughter, but my son-in-law, and they're expecting their first child in September. Molly and Michael, would you guys stand up? My daughter, Natasha, we adopted her from Russia when she was 12. She's 20 now. She works down in Oxnard. She's working today. My 2 boys are Boy Scouts, and they're at the Camp Creek. And my 15-year-old son, Daniel, probably saw him in the Acorn, just got his Eagle Scout award. So they all take after their mother. Well, it's a privilege to be with you today. I wanted to share with you a little bit about myself and why I'm running. And I wanted to begin with this idea of the California Assembly and making an impact. I've heard a lot of talk from some of the candidates today and their position on a number of things. But I wanted to look at us as a whole, as a Republican Party. All of us have ideas of how we're supposed to fix the fractured aspects of our party. We want to build our base. We see in Ventura County alone, we have a 39% Democrat registration, 36% Republican, and the fastest growing party in California is a declining state. Folks like to segment us by our ethnicity or our minority. And the tragedy of that is our founding fathers said we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among those being life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It goes on to say, for this reason, governments were instituted among men, to protect those unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was the French Revolution that tried to model the American Revolution, but they said it a little differently. They said liberty, equality, and fraternity. Everybody likes liberty. Everybody likes liberty. And this idea of equality, we all have the exact same. But it has to work with this fact of being a part of a fraternity, or a minority, or a Soviet, or a union. And if you have more than the other person, you can take it from them and make them equal, and they're not going to like it, and they're going to complain, and what are you going to do? Well, the symbol of the French Revolution was the guillotine. You see, in our culture today, we're trying to segment our people by our minority instead of realizing that we're all created with unalienable rights. America is the most amazing place on the face of the earth, because when you come to the United States of America, regardless of your ethnicity or where you travel from, the minute you become a citizen, you're an American. You can live your whole life in Japan, and I've traveled over 30 different countries, and I've seen this even throughout Europe. You can be a resident of that nation, and then you can apply for citizenship, but you'll never be considered a Japanese. But in the United States of America, you're an American regardless of your ethnicity. We're trying and attempting to divide us by our ethnicity. If we want to speak of minorities, I represent one of the largest minorities in America. Folks wonder why a minister is running for office. I represent the faith community. There's 85 million of us. They're disenfranchised. In 2008, 2012, it's been a precipitous decline in voter turnout in the faith community for Republicans. We're dissatisfied. A lot of folks feel like we're being treated like the ugly rich uncle. They want our money, but they don't want us in the family photo. But I'm here to build the party. I want to be a part of it. I see that we need to unify in this time. Not based on our ethnicity or our minorities, but the reality that we're all Americans. We have something to bring to the table. We have to reason together and understand. And so with that being said, when I look at the 85 million in the faith community, only 25% of them are engaged in the voting process. If we were to move that constituency 10 points, we would dominate all 550,000 elections all throughout the country. We don't need to be less conservative. We need to be more persuasive. We have the ideas. When we look at California, this idea of an assembly seat, what is one man going to do to make a difference in a Democratic-dominated legislature that has a supermajority? It's interesting that when Calderon and Wright and Leland Yee were all indicted, that saved Proposition 13. One person can make the difference, and I plan on doing that. I've heard as previous candidates have talked about this crazy train and the rail train. What bothers me is up in the Mojave, we had the spaceport, which was this advanced technology going into space, the absolute antithesis, or the absolute epic of modernity. And we lost it. It moved to Texas. And what are we going to get in exchange? Nobody rides on trains anymore. And they're going to send it to Bakersfield. Bakersfield doesn't want it. They just want their water turned back on. All the 800,000 gallons are going out. 800,000 gallons going out to the Pacific Ocean to protect a non-indigenous fish while we're fallowing our ground. What culture destroys its food source? You see, the greater the government, the greater the poverty. The smaller the government, the greater the prosperity. I have in front right here one of my favorite presentations. This represents all the California-funded state agencies, 550 of them. And there's absolutely more, actually. All these folks have pensions. They have all kinds of fun things in store for the taxpayers. One of these state agencies is called the California Business Portal. I always wondered where our jobs went when they flushed them. 70% of Texas's growth is our businesses leaving the state.
That's right. Yeah.
I have the endorsement of Governor Rick Perry because he said, Rob, a strong California makes a strong nation. It's easy to come and pick the jobs out of California because they are not business savvy and they don't care about business in this state. Fix it.
Yep.
I said, yes, sir. I have the endorsement of Governor Mike Huckabee. He understands how to reach out to folks that have been disenfranchised. I have the endorsement of Senator Rand Paul. Now, as an assemblyman, to have the 3 top presidential candidates endorsing me. The reason why is because I've traveled to over 14 states with these men. I've spoken to over 50,000 people. And the idea is building the base. I want to build the Republican base right here in Ventura County. I have a vision for California. When we're done here, we're going to the next county, the next district. When I see Susan Shelley lose by less than 400 votes, it's unconscionable. We should have every one of our assembly people walking that precinct, and we should encourage and build the base in California. I'm not going to Sacramento to tell them what to do. I'm going to Sacramento to represent the 500,000 people of this district. You tell me what you want done. I'm here to serve you. Folks, ask me, as a pastor, how do you plan on being an assemblyman? It's real simple. You just take the 800 members of my congregation, and my responsibility as a pastor is to serve them. I serve them in every capacity. As a sheriff's chaplain in this community, I've also served. I know what it's like to meet people at their most difficult time in their life. I know what it's like to go and help them to the best of my ability. And I'm just going to multiply that over 500,000. That's going to be all the citizens of our district. But I will tell you this. As a sheriff's chaplain, I was called on to a Sikh home. And as I entered this home, I was told that there was a sudden infant death. The baby had died. I was a Protestant chaplain going to a Sikh home. As I walked through the doors of that home, the mother met me at the door and she handed me her dead baby. She said, please fix this. I can't do that. But what I did bring is hope and encouragement. I was with the family through the memorial services. I walked them through the process of grieving. But I learned something that day. There are things you're going to want from me that I'm incapable of giving you. But everything within my power, I assure you, will give it all. I'm a candidate for the 44th Assembly, and I'm running against another Republican and a Democrat. The Republican, I really like him. I really like him. I'm going to beat him, but I really like him. He's an up-and-coming star. But he's 26 and I'm 49. I've gone through a lot of things. And I'll say this, the Democrat, everyone thought she was a Republican. She's not. She said she wants to keep the lock that the Democrats have on Sacramento. There are a lot of Republicans that have been bamboozled in thinking that she's one of them. She isn't. She voted for Obama. She's all about big government, and over $90,000 of her money has come from the public unions. And as FDR said, was a Democrat. Speaking of government unions, he says, beware of the man who feathers his nest with the wings of the American eagle. When they start electing their officials to go into Sacramento and they sit down at the table to negotiate with the public employees, now we don't have a seat at the table. We're the one paying the dollars. We don't need another Democrat in Sacramento. I'm going up there to change it. I need your help. And I'm so thankful to be with you this day. God bless you guys, and thank you very much.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here, and thank you to KADY for covering this important RWF meeting today so we can talk about how we're going to win in California. Republicans are going to win in California. We're going to win in California. Because everyone's just had enough of this. Enough. Things are not good in California. We are off the couch to do something about it. Thank you for being here today. My name is Susan Shelley. I'm running in the 45th Assembly District. The 45th Assembly District goes roughly from the 405 freeway on the east to Las Virgenes Road on the west, from Devonshire Street up in Chatsworth and Northridge down to the Mulholland Ridge. So it's all those communities, Hidden Hills, Calabasas, Argogore Hills, Woodland Hills, Encino, Tarzana, West Hills, Chatsworth and Northridge, Winnetka, Canoga Park. Call all your friends in those areas. Tell them we've got a horse race in this district. Last year, year, there was a special election in this district, and I was the Republican candidate in it, and we came within 329 votes of victory. Yeah. This year, we're not going to miss.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you think the budget of California is balanced? The smart group you are. The governor says we have a balanced budget. The legislature says we have a balanced budget. They're spending money as if we have a balanced budget. They send out a press release saying we have a balanced budget, and now they believe it. They believe we have a balanced budget. So they have all kinds of spending plans. They want to do a bullet train. They have plans. They've given themselves raises. They've given staff raises. They've given SEIU 1,000, the white-collar workers in Sacramento, raises 4.5%. All the pension obligations that go with that, because hey, things are good in California, we've got a balanced budget. No, we don't. No, we don't. The governor's budget says there's $354 billion in debt and unfunded liabilities. And that's the governor's budget, so that's the best they can make it look. Like the picture on a frozen dinner. That's the best they can make it look. So if it doesn't look good there, don't put it in the car. So where are they going to get this money to pay these pensions? The teacher's pension alone, underfunded by $4.5 billion a year to pay the obligations of the current teachers in the system. $4.5 billion a year. That's off the table. They're not looking at it. They're doing a bullet train. They've got plans for your money. Where are they going to get the money? We already have the highest state income tax, the highest state sales tax, the highest gasoline taxes. Where are they going to get the money? Let me ask you a question. Do you own a home? Yes. Did you lock it? That's what they're coming after. There is an attack on Proposition 13 that is going on in California. Now, the Democrats will tell you we're not going to touch Proposition 13. And what they mean is the core part of it that locks the assessment on your residence at the purchase price and only goes up 2% a year. They're going to leave that alone. What they're going to do is try to make it easier to pass bonds and parcel taxes, which are paid for on your property tax bill. At the bottom. Schools, 911, street lights, everything that's important, they come to you for a bond issue, which means they want to borrow money and pay it off in the future for everything that's important. Everything that's not important, like that whole list of agencies you just saw, that they've got money for. They've got plenty of money for that. For all the boards and commissions, for raises, they've got money for that. They just don't have any money for schools and street repair, so they have to borrow that. Now, what does this tell you? This tells you that we have a dysfunctional government in Sacramento. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. We can do a lot of things in California to make things better. One of the things we can do is improve the business climate. One of the things that would improve the business climate is to leave Proposition 13 alone and not split the role and charge businesses higher taxes. If we charge businesses higher taxes, how does that help us? How does it help us to raise the burden on businesses? It doesn't. They're already leaving, they're already laying people off. Splitting the role and starting to hack at Prop 13 for businesses is a terrible idea. If you have a job, if you go to a store that's in a commercial strip mall, do you want their rent higher so all the prices are higher, so the dry cleaners goes out of business, so the restaurants close? It's just self-destructive. It's self-destructive. I'm very proud to be endorsed by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. I will protect Proposition 13. Let me touch briefly on some other things that we can do to improve the business climate and life in California for everybody who's here. We can do something about energy costs in this state. In 2006, there was a bill passed called AB 32, which raised the target for using renewable fuels, wind and solar, raised the target to 33% by the year 2020. The target was 20% for renewable fuels, for wind and solar. Well, as soon as they did that, every utility in the state of California had to go out and find a wind and solar provider and make a long-term contract so that they could be compliant by 2020 with this arbitrary, pulled out of the air number of 33% by the year 2020. What has that done to your utility bills? Every year it's going up. Every year it's going up to pay for more wind and solar. And let me ask you a question. While you're struggling to pay your utility bills, while businesses are struggling to keep the lights on, what are we accomplishing with that? Are we saving the earth by going from 20% to 33% renewable fuels? If nobody else does it, are we affecting the climate? Are we doing anything except just hurting ourselves in California to make a point that we're green. It's nice to be green. It's just expensive to be green. And we really have to balance these things or we're all in trouble and starve to death. So we can repeal that 33% requirement, go back to 20%, the world will not come to an end. I give you my assurance, you can bet your house, the world will not come to an end if we go back to 20%. We can also improve the litigation climate in California, as Texas did, which makes us more business friendly. We have to treat our economy as a serious problem and not as something that just floats in the air and some years it's good and some years it's bad. It's bad because of the policies. It's the consequence of bad policy. We need better people in Sacramento. We need transparent government. We can't have these spot bills, which are blank pieces of legislation. Recently, the state Senate passed 40 spot bills, literally blank pieces of legislation to be filled in later by somebody. And then it comes back to the floor for an up or down vote, no amendments, no hearings, no transparency. That's how they're doing the budget in California. That's how businesses are having to operate. Looking in the fine print of the Sacramento Bee to see what was done to them today. This isn't appropriate, this is not necessary, this is what is destroying California. We can fix these problems. It only takes 2 assembly members to break that supermajority. They might be here in this room today. I just want to put in a quick plug for my proposal to keep movie production in California. In the Daily News, I had an op-ed published talking about subsidizing movie tickets for movies that were made in California instead of subsidizing the producers at the start and at the start of the process. We should subsidize the consumer at the end of the process, and we should make California enthusiastic about filming in California. Everyone who goes to the theater should root for the California movie. Once again, my name is Susan Shelley. I am running in the 45th Assembly District. I look forward to your help. I need your support. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
My name is Phil Wyman. I am a rancher and an attorney in the Great Central Valley. I'm a 5th generation Californian, and I'm so glad to be here as a candidate for Attorney General of the state of California. There is no stronger Attorney General that has been brought forward in any state, this being the largest state with the largest population. And yet we have seen, really not going back until you come to Governor George Duke Machen and Dan Lundgren, that you had attorneys general that had the best interests of this people in our state at hand. I've served in the legislature. I've run against 2 Democrats, and I've defeated them twice. And with Kamala Harris, that I intend to be the 3rd. I ran in a district, the Central District of the Central Valley, at 22%. I ran 17 points ahead of registration and would have won had there not been massive fraud. As a Prop 13 baby, and as a gun owner and a person that has a ranch, a hunting ranch, I have a perfect Second Amendment voting record in my tenure in the Assembly and the Senate. I was policy director in the Assembly. I wrote the Death Penalty Restoration Act with Governor Duke Machen, and I'm working with 3 governors to make it work again. Was author of 3 strikes, and 3 strikes has saved, according to statistics of the Attorney General's office at the time, 3 strikes allowed 5,000 Californians who were otherwise going to be the victims of murder to be alive. I got into this when my cousin was brutally murdered in San Francisco. And when I look at the efforts or the lack thereof and the prejudice of the existing Kamala Harris and her approach to the death penalty, her unwillingness, even if she doesn't favor it, to not proceed with the death penalty or second-degree murder, to put it to manslaughter, abuses, really abuses. And let me tell you, there are whistleblowers within that agency that are sick and tired of it. Look at the Tribune Union in San Diego in their expose 2 weeks ago that the biennial report that's supposed to be coming to the people and all of the litigants, over 1,000 in this state, it isn't even written. She's behind on 2 reports, and if you look, you can go see the efforts by Jerry Brown, whose father was Attorney General. By the way, I can get along with Jerry Brown. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but he professionally was an Attorney General who voted liberal on all of these cases, but at least he had a report. She has not committed nor completed the report, and her press flaxes, where she talks to the governor. I'll bet you she doesn't talk to him about it, because she would hear him say, "But I always filed that report." You wonder, really? And I began to wonder, because we are seeing a culture of corruption in Sacramento, and I wonder if she's trying to hide something. Because if you look at Jerry Brown's report, what is it? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits, from logging to environmental to Prop 32, on and on. As the policy director for 6 years for the Republican caucus, and doing the same with Senator Manning and Democrats as well, I know all those policy issues. And as I look at the report that wasn't filed, all it was the update. The update of these lawsuits that have good, competent attorneys who work for the Department of Justice. There are 5,000 people that work there. So she is in some deep, deep trouble, because I think she's probably trying to hide some. Now, I'm going to rely on some written points that I made here, because as a lawyer, she's a lawyer, and she needs to know, and those that are concerned need to know as well, that first of all, last November, I did not intend, again, to run for office, although I think I am highly qualified from the perspective of a conservative, and I'm very honored to have the endorsement of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. I always have 100%, so I get the National Rifle Association, the Pistol Association, and other support. But we need to know that a solid conservative who knows how to win and who knows how to put coalitions together to make things work, yes, with Democrats, we get into the back rooms and we talk about things, but I don't let myself be drawn too far in their direction. But ultimately, people expect the job to be done. She is not doing the job. Last November, and I want to indicate also, I'm a Vietnam-era veteran. I served in the Philippines. I delivered paychecks to those in the fleet at Sangli, and we took them by aircraft to all of the locations in Vietnam itself. And having said that, I went back after many, many years after this horrific typhoon struck my beautiful Kababayans, because I speak the language and I love those people. I went to a Jesuit law school there. I was taught by Tony Kennedy, Justice Kennedy, to be a good lawyer. But it was only when I went with Governor Duke Machen, who has endorsed me and defended before the Supreme Court Proposition 13, that I felt maybe I kind of got to that niche, kind of like my good friend, my opponent, who's the boxer. I'm sure he's better at boxing. I'm probably better at killing communists, but we'll check that. We'll check that out. But I can tell you that twice they tried to kill me. Twice they tried to kill me. So when I saw that Senator Leland Yee had been taking arms to Mindanao, and thought of the folks I found that I started the Philippine Astronomical Society, 15,000 strong. But when we went there with Rotary, and I went representing the wonderful people from Catholic hospitals, and when I realized what a senator had done, that he had actually caused the death in the Philippines of Filipinos, and by the way, the only place in this world where there are more Filipinos than the Philippines is right here in California. It angered me. And so I said in a press release that there is a solution. The public expects and deserves better by the rule of law. And if somebody, such as Senator Yee, goes so far as to conspire for murder, gun running, and international terrorism, then he has earned, with his capital O-L office, capital A-L execution. And that would not be unconstitutional. It would be a simple instruction from the people of our state that if you go to represent the people and you kill people here or elsewhere, then it is a capital crime, and we will see that you are dealt the rule of law. That's what I stand for, the rule of law. And I am a person who knows how to reach out. I'm only about 15 miles from the home of Cesar Chavez, where he's buried. And our family were ventners. We were in Delano. So did we have battles? Yeah. But when I needed to find the right person to run my office in Bakersfield, it was Cesar Chavez, his granddaughter. And she's from San Diego, and yes, she didn't support the man who won as Republican. But she is a professional, and her friendship and her involvement as a staff person to a Republican is the kind of things we need to do and to reach out. We need to reach out to the empowered new majority because they think so much, almost 100% as we do. So I'm in this race to win. There are a lot of other good candidates, but I am prepared. I am endorsed. I know how to go and talk to Republicans and Democrats alike. And I'll just conclude because I wanted to share this. My great-grandfather was the campaign manager of Abraham Lincoln. And I was endorsed 2 weeks ago by the descendants of the Lincoln family because and I brought the with Malice Toward None here exhibit with Maria Shriver, the First Lady. And what that taught me was when I was running for office, I go to black churches, I go to Hispanic, I had my staff of the 14 were Hispanic. We need to reach out because the party of Abraham Lincoln, and I'm running as an Abraham Lincoln Republican, is the party that defended the defenseless. And we still defend the defenseless, including the unborn.
There you go.
We need an attorney general who will go to court for those who have fewer, perhaps not that many more rights than a slave did when Mr. Lincoln gave his very life. I conclude by saying the reason I became so close to the Dowling family, and that's the family of Abraham Lincoln's mom, was that we presented a funerary flag. We presented a funerary flag to the Lincoln family. And it was the first time since their beloved's martyr had been murdered that anybody had done that. So we Republicans can win because our party stands for the republic and the goodness of the greatest leader, save Jesus Christ. And that was President Abraham Lincoln.
Well, good morning. I'm Greg Totten, and in 2002, again in 2006, and again in 2010, you elected me to serve as your district attorney. And it has been a great privilege of my professional life to serve as a chief prosecutor here in Ventura County. And I have approached this task with great reverence for the significance of the responsibility to the justice system and the significance of the responsibility I hold to each of you to protect your safety and keep a community that we all love safe. Now, as I stand before you today, I must confess that I stand before you as someone who has no declared opponent in the 2014 June election. Now, that's a nice thing for myself or my family, but I take nothing for granted. And this organization has been valiant, frankly, in helping me through the years and supporting me through the years. And I want to thank you for hosting this event and giving me an opportunity to talk a little bit about the District Attorney's Office and our philosophy and approach to protecting you and serving the high calling of justice every single day. Our job is unlike any other lawyer. Said long ago that the role of the prosecutor, the responsibility of the prosecutor, is that neither guilt shall escape nor innocence suffer. And we take that responsibility very seriously. We are, in every sense of the phrase, administrators of justice. That is our job, to seek what is right what is fair, and what is just. And I am blessed to lead an organization that is made up of dedicated professionals who spend their day, who spend their professional lives seeking to do just that. We talk often in the DA's office that it is a we thing. And by that, I mean that the office is bigger than any one single person. Our duties, our solemn responsibilities are larger than any single one person. And that includes me as district attorney. It is very much a team-oriented approach to serve the cause of justice that we take very seriously. Our guiding principles that I have emphasized since I first became district attorney in 2002, there are 4 key guiding principles that drive us every single day. First of all, we are a tough, no-nonsense law enforcement agency that believes in holding criminals accountable. We believe that criminals need to be behind bars so that you don't have to be behind bars in your home. To that end, we do not like the practice of rampant plea bargaining that disposes of cases for unduly lenient sentences because it's expedient. It serves really a disservice to the larger public. So we have a no plea bargaining policy that has served us and served, we believe, the community very well. So part of this tough, no-nonsense approach, over the last number of years that I've been district attorney, we have sent 6 murderers to death row. We maintained a 92% conviction rate. We sought a gang injunction against the largest, most open, most violent, and notorious gang in the county that produced an 80% decline in violent gang-related assaults and a 33% decline in Part 1 FBI crime, things like rape, robbery, and murder. It was very controversial at the time we sought the injunction. Thankfully, we were successful, and thankfully, it's produced tremendous positive results. Our second core principle is we believe in vigilance. The community is changing. Really, the state of California is changing. In the face of crime, much like society changes as well. We're seeing an explosion in technology. The predator that used to go into stores and steal from them is now stealing from all of us via the internet, various types of computer fraud schemes. We also are seeing changing demographics. We have a much older and aging population here in Ventura County. Fully 2/3 of all personal wealth is concentrated in people over the age of 65. And so our elder residents are at much greater risk of falling prey to crime, falling prey to slip-up and con. So we've made it a priority to go after those elder abuse cases. In being vigilant, some of the things we've done, we created a new real estate fraud prosecution program because our troubled real estate market has created issues for homeowners and home sellers. We have used DNA technology to go after old, in some cases as long as 30 years ago, old homicide cases that went unsolved. We're solving those now, and we're delivering justice to those families. We've created a high-tech task force where we go after computer crimes and crimes of high technology, in particular child pornography. Child pornography is one of the fastest growing crimes in the nation, in part because of the internet. We now have a prosecutor who works full-time on those offenses. We've created 2 safe harbor facilities, one in eastern Ventura County and one in western Ventura County, that concentrate on dealing with victims of rape and child molestation right after they report the crime to ensure that they're treated with more kindness and dignity, rather than the historic way that law enforcement dealt with it in terms of multiple interviews by doctors, nurses, lawyers, cops. We deal with it in just one interview in these very compassionate facilities. We've also created a program within the district attorney's office for training and helping victims of domestic violence. We call it the Family Violence Prevention and Education Center, where literally every week we hold 2 classes, one in Spanish and one in English, for for victims of domestic violence to try to teach them and give them the tools and the referral sources to get out of violent relationships. And it has proven to be very successful. So that's part of the vigilance. A third guiding principle is that we abhor bureaucracy. You know, if you've ever dealt with the DMV, if you've ever dealt with the IRS, you feel like you're a number. We don't believe in treating this nearly 6,000 victims that walk through our doors every year like numbers. They deserve to be treated like human beings. They deserve dignity and respect. And from the mail clerk to the receptionist to the office of district attorney, we try to treat the people that come through our doors as human beings and treat them with dignity and respect. It is one of our priorities. But finally and above all, we are an office of integrity and character. We recognize that prosecutors have immense power and authority. When we charge somebody with crime, we label them. Regardless of the end result, regardless of what happens in that individual case, we label them for the rest of their lives. So we need to make decisions that are the right decisions, done the right way, for the right reason. And we concentrate on that every single day in the actions we take on behalf of the cause of justice. Now, I've been a prosecutor for nearly 32 years. I've been your elected district attorney for 12 years. And I must tell you that 32 years ago, the first day I walked into that office, I very quickly after that realized that I had an unyielding passion for the work of the prosecutor. I have loved every day serving as a prosecutor in this wonderful county, and it has been such a great privilege to serve in that role. And I knew that very first day in the office that I belonged here. This was a great place to be. This was a place that met my needs for a profession that mattered, a profession that made a difference. Many years ago, a great United States Supreme Court Justice by the name of Robert H. Jackson, who had served as a distinguished lawyer, United States Solicitor General, and United States Attorney General, and then was appointed to the Supreme Court, did something remarkable. He is the first and only justice of the Supreme Court to ever take a leave of absence to become a prosecutor. And for those students of history, you may recall the great Nuremberg war trials. Justice Jackson served as a prosecutor at those trials and is revered in the profession as one of the truly great prosecutors. Long ago, in a speech to the 4 federal prosecutors, Justice Jackson said that the citizen's safety lies in a prosecutor who tempers zeal with human kindness, who seeks truth and not victims, who serves the law and not factional purposes, and who approaches his task with humility. Throughout my 32 years, I have strived every single day in every single action to meet this very high calling and this high challenge. My wife Irene and I have lived in this county for the entirety of our nearly 33 years of marriage. We love Ventura County. It is a great place to raise a home, to raise a family. It is a great place to live. It's a great place to have a business. As your district attorney, rest assured that I will do everything within my power to keep this community one of the safest in the United States. I thank you for this opportunity. Of our democracy, and we need people of character and integrity serving in that role, and that's why I'm supporting Mark Lund for Eric Gordon.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. You guys are joining us this morning. As Greg has said, it's an honor to follow you here. It's somewhat perilous being the last speaker of the day. You don't want to be the speaker before lunch, and you don't want to be the last speaker, right? So I have full disclosure. I have a family member that's a timer. Everybody else has got 10 minutes. I've got 45. So just sit back and relax, and we'll be good, okay? I am running for a clerk and recorder, my second term talk to you a little bit about the office because probably most of you don't know what we do. I hardly know what we do. But how I got it. For those of you that I don't know, I'm a lifelong law enforcement officer. Many years ago, well, not that many years ago, when I had dark hair, I was 19 years old, I was hired by the California State Police. And soon after I was hired, I got assigned to a security detail for somebody that we all know. Some of us were alive, some of us weren't born yet, but somebody we all know. And I'm riding alone in the car with him that day, taking him to a ranch. And I just got assigned to the security detail. I'm 20 years old. I have no idea what to talk about. And I turned to the gentleman on my right and I said, Governor, you know, you've been the president of the Screen Actors Guild. You're a successful actor. You have a great speaking tour with General Electric. And you made a lot of money in your life. Why did you run for governor? And he said, well, I can't do that. He says, Mark, you can't impact the outcome of a game if you don't join the team. So speed forward, I did a law enforcement career for 34 years, and this gentleman is standing right over there, and the sheriff, and the former clerk and recorder retired early, midway through his term, and they all approached and pushed and said, we'd really like you to run for this business. He said, what the heck do I know about the clerk recorder? And why me? And he said, well, half of the job is dealing with law. And it's a highly regulated business. All your personal and business documents are regulated by law and the preservation of those. And the stewardship of the offices that we issue oaths of office to and licenses to. And the other half is elections. So why not put a cop in charge of elections? But I wasn't an easy sell. Ray can attest to that. But our Board of Supervisors back in 2009 were discussing, because there was an opening, about combining the offices and making your registrar of voters become an appointed person accountable to a bureaucrat with no fingerprints on them as to the actions that they would take in this office. And I harken back to a few years earlier in my life when I had black hair. And I said, you know, this is my time to step up. This is my time to join the team. And that's why I ran for office. Unfortunately, we were successful, and here I am again, running for clerk recorder for our second term. And I don't know where the time went. It just seems like it was yesterday, but here we are again. So we've got a lot of things accomplished this first term. I had several things that I wanted to make sure that we did during our first term. I wanted to raise the profile of the office, make it more efficient, bring it to modern day standards. We've launched a new website. I found it very difficult as I was running for office. We're the heaviest travel office in Ventura County on a year-round basis. Lots of customers. All of you are my clients, whether you know it or not. Business, real estate, birth, death, and marriage. I'm also the Commissioner of Civil Marriages. I can't help any of you with that today. So, very busy place, but couldn't get any information out. We've launched a very vibrant website. Now the folks can get information in an easy manner, make it easy to deal with government. You can't shop anyplace else when you come to my office. I can't send you down the street to get your services, to get your marriage license, to get your business license. When you come to my office, my wife is a buyer. My wife of 25, almost 26 years now, was a buyer for most of her life. And she said, you know, the best service that you're ever going to get is if you go to Nordstrom. And so one of the ideals that we have in our office is, and most of my employees are women, is I want anybody that comes to our counter to do business with us, because they can't go anyplace else, to be treated like they're shopping at Nordstrom. So we're able to put that in, and that's a pretty easy thing to do. We also launched a brand new, one of the things we need to do, elections is a cornerstone, as Greg has said, of our democracy. They should be beyond any kind of question, beyond any kind of question as to, are things being done right? We launched a website for election night reporting with all of our cell phones and all the smartphones we have, our iPads, anything that you use for a device. You can look in real time on election day and see where people are voting, what precincts are voting. It's a very, very vibrant thing, and the reason I've got this in my hand now is because I'm trying to tell you how many days it is to election day. Does anybody know? Well, we're under 40 candidates that are out here, including myself. Not only am I preparing for election, but I'm a candidate myself. We all know we're all tired, right? We're all trying to get out and get the word out. But in 40 days, all of you will be sitting down and making choices as to who's going to represent us to do our work, regardless what the job is. And when all of us that are elected to public office, when we raise our right hand and swear that we're going to follow the laws of the land and follow the laws of the state of California, what you are entrusted, what the voters entrust to that person, is that bond to get that work done in a legal, moral, and ethical manner. I've been doing that for 42 years in my public service career. And many of you here, including my friend the district attorney as well. Integrity is job one. Along the way of the improvements we've made in the office, I've saved $2.3 million given back to taxpayers. It's an easy thing to do. You can adjust your business hours, you can streamline your services. I promised when I was running for election to open services in the East County office. We've opened an office here in the city of Thousand Oaks so we can service our constituents here. We've done a lot of things in the clerk reporter's office. I've made my folks tired. But all of them have been designed to preserve your history, your historical, business, and personal documents, and to protect our democracy. And that is job one for me, is to protect our democracy. You can be assured here in Ventura County that your elections are going to be conducted without voter fraud. We've got a very vibrant voter fraud investigation program I promised to do when I was running for office. Thanks to the district attorney's office, we are investigating those folks that think that they want to do something nefarious when it comes to election time. We also have an investigator assigned to document fraud. We involved very heavily with the district attorney's office and the real estate fraud advisory team. And that is our job. Our job is to protect you. So as I look forward to this next term and to move forward, to finish the work and build upon the work that we started in our first term, you can rest assured that when I go to work every day, the first thing I have in mind, I understand who I work for, and I understand and I value the trust that you placed in me to take care of all of you. And I look forward to serving you again next term. Look forward to seeing your vote on June 3rd. Thank you so much.
We heard some great speeches up here. I want you guys to all thank you for coming. I would like to thank all the people that were here this morning to help set up the room. And we have some literature on the back tables that we would like for you guys. Found some candidates here that are really inspire you. I want you to contact get your candidates, get on their teams, get into volunteering, work in precincts, just get out the words, get out the votes, and win these elections. Thank you so much for coming.